Imagine serving your country for 2 decades, right? You endure the physical grind, you literally break your body in the process, and when you finally get out and ask for the medical care you were promised, you're told your injuries never happened.
Which is just devastating. I mean, it's a complete gut punch.
It really is. And why does it happen? Because someone in some massive bureaucratic archive just misplaced a manila folder back in like 1995.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the infuriating, just exhausting reality for thousands of veterans navigating the VA disability claims process today.
People call it a gauntlet for a reason.
Yeah.
It's basically this medieval fortress,
Oh.
with a moat, these huge high walls, and the drawbridge is permanently pulled up. It honestly seems designed to keep you out.
Oh, absolutely. It's an incredibly intimidating system. I mean, you're looking at a maze of legal jargon, intricate regulations, and just decades of entrenched bureaucracy.
Yeah, and people take one look at that paperwork and the horror stories from their buddies, and they just turn around. They give up.
Which is exactly what we don't want.
Right. We are going to change that today. Because you really don't have to blindly charge those gates. Welcome to today's deep dive, where we are handing you the actual blueprints to that fortress.
That's a great way to put it.
Our mission today is to guide you on a step-by-step journey, starting from the very first thought of filing a claim, all the way through to final approval. We're going to completely cut through the red tape.
And we've got two really phenomenal sources to help us do this.
Yes, we do. First, we're looking at an analytical piece titled The Veteran's Gauntlet, which kind of tears down the systemic barriers.
Right, gives that high-level view. And second, we have this intensely practical guidebook called The Art of Filing for Veterans Disability Benefits.
Which I loved. That one's written by Reverend Dr. Antonio Arnold. He is a 100% disabled veteran who served 18.6 years. So he knows exactly what this fight looks like from the inside.
He really does. And, to even begin this journey, we have to look at the psychological barrier that stops people before they even reach the starting line.
Yeah, because the biggest hurdle isn't actually a form, is it?
No, not at all. It's the military's reporting culture. I mean, think about the environment of basic training or active duty. The absolute last thing an 18-year-old recruit wants is to be held back or recycled in training.
Oh, yeah. The stigma around that is huge.
Exactly. So when they get hurt, they adopt this soldier-on mentality. They just hide the pain and push through.
And Dr. Arnold talks about this firsthand in the book. During basic training, he actually dislocated his right shoulder and sprained an ankle.
Right. Two pretty significant injuries.
But the fear of being recycled was so overwhelming for him that he completely hid the shoulder injury. He just suffered in silence.
I mean, he only reported the ankle sprain because it was physically impossible to hide. He couldn't walk on it.
Right. And that decision, which, is made under extreme pressure by a young kid, that creates a massive cascading problem decades later.
Because the shoulder wasn't reported right. So there is zero medical documentation.
Right. And in the eyes of the VA bureaucracy, if a doctor didn't write it down in a file.
It never happened, period. And this reality breeds this deep feeling of defeat. You see this heavily among veterans from, like, the Vietnam, peacetime, and Desert Storm eras.
They just harbor a profound lack of trust in the system. They feel like the game is rigged before they even sit down to play.
But I gotta say, I have a really hard time wrapping my head around that part.
What do you mean?
Well, the military is legendary for its rigid, almost obsessive record-keeping, right? Like, they probably have a form for tying your boots.
Oh, they definitely do.
So how on earth does the burden fall entirely on the individual veteran to prove something happened during their service like 20 years ago?
Yeah, it sounds backwards. But it really comes down to the chaos of managing millions of human lives over decades. Bases close. Warehouses literally flood.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about natural disasters.
Right. Paper files get shuffled from unit to unit, or they simply vanish into the abyss of the National Archives. I mean, Dr. Arnold actually did report his ankle injury, like we said.
Right, because he couldn't hide it.
Exactly. But when he went looking for his treatment records and his temporary profiles years later, he found out they were lost forever in the military archives.
That is maddening.
It is. The system is just vast and highly imperfect, and the government knows this. But structurally, they legally require evidence to disperse federal funds.
So the burden of proof inevitably shifts back to the veteran.
Which means your very first defense is understanding the actual rules of eligibility. Because the rumors out there will totally talk you out of applying.
Oh, the myths are rampant. Let's shatter the biggest one right now. People assume you need to have taken a bullet in combat to get disability benefits.
Yeah, that you need a Purple Heart or something.
Right. But the VA compensates for service-connected conditions. That means injuries or illnesses that were caused by, or, and this is key, even just made worse by your active duty service.
That has nothing to do with combat.
Nothing at all. I mean, if you had a mild pre-existing knee issue before you joined, right, and then you spent 4 years jumping out of trucks and carrying an 80-pound rucksack.
Which is basically every day in the infantry.
Exactly. And now your knee is totally destroyed. That aggravation absolutely counts. You are eligible.
Okay, that's huge. And another massive myth is that Reserve or National Guard members are somehow like second-class citizens in this process and don't qualify.
Oh, I hate that one. That is completely false. Reserve and National Guard members absolutely qualify.
Right, because Dr. Arnold himself served in both the Army Reserve and the Air Guard, right?
He did. And he successfully secured his benefits. The standard is simply about establishing the connection between your service and your current condition. It doesn't matter if you are Guard, Reserve, or active.
Okay, so the gates are actually open to far more people than the myths suggest.
Mm.
But to walk through them, you need weapons.
And in this particular gauntlet, your weapons aren't made of steel, they're made of paper.
Dr. Arnold has this golden rule that I love. Documentation beats conversation.
It is the absolute truth. You can tell a VA examiner your back hurts all day long,
Right.
but if you don't have the paper to back it up, you don't have a claim.
Because the entire system hinges on one single concept, establishing a nexus.
A nexus. We're using sci-fi terms now. Sounds like something from a movie.
I know, it really does. It's the ultimate bureaucratic buzzword. But a nexus is simply the definitive link between your current medical disability and an event, injury, or disease that occurred during your service.
So if you suffer from severe migraines today,
You need the documentation proving it stems from that specific head injury you sustained during a training exercise like 10 years ago.
and without that nexus, the claim just fails.
Fails completely. And since we already established that the military archives are basically a black hole that might lose your file, Dr. Arnold insists you build your own digital arsenal.
Yeah, his 6-step system in the book is so incredibly practical.
It really is.
Yeah.
So step 1, you buy a good PDF scanner. Step 2, you save all those scans directly to a computer hard drive.
Step 3, you create a dedicated digital folder just for this.
Right. And step 4, this is crucial. You name the files clearly. Don't just leave it as scan 1 PDF where you'll never know what it is.
Oh yeah, you'll be lost in your own files. But the redundancy in steps 5 and 6 is where this system really saves you.
Tell me about it.
Well, step 5 is emailing the documents to yourself. And step 6 is saving them on a secured thumb drive. He recommends at least 2 gigabytes, and physically locking that drive in a safe.
This is essentially creating a functional, indestructible vault for your life's history. It's like a digital Horcrux.
A digital Horcrux, yes. You have the physical thumb drive and a fireproof safe, but by emailing it to yourself, you're building a cloud safety net.
Exactly. Even if your house burns to the ground, your laptop gets stolen, and the National Archives lose your official folder, your proof survives.
You are entirely insulated from disaster, which is great, but you need that level of protection for very specific pieces of paper.
Right, you can't just scan anything. Dr. Arnold highlights a few critical forms you must hunt down.
Let me guess. A bunch of confusing acronyms.
Oh, you know it. You need the DA Form 3349, you need the Standard Form 600, and you absolutely need the DA Form 2173.
Okay, stop right there. I mean, we are expecting a veteran who might be dealing with severe chronic pain or a traumatic brain injury to decipher this alphanumeric soup.
That's a lot. DA 3349, SF 600.
Like, what do these random numbers actually do in the real world?
The frustration with the acronyms is completely valid, so let's translate them into what they actually accomplish. The DA Form 3349, that is your physical profile.
Okay, what does that mean practically?
It is the official document that told your commander this soldier cannot run or carry heavy weight because they are injured.
Oh, so it proves the military officially acknowledged your physical limitation at that specific point in time.
Precisely. Now, the Standard Form 600, or SF 600, is simply the chronological record of medical care.
So it's like a logbook.
Exactly. It's the logbook of every single time you went to sick call, detailing your symptoms and what the doctor actually did.
Got it. So the SF-600 is basically the actual diary of your pain during service.
Yes. Perfect way to describe it. And finally, the DA Form 2173 is the statement of medical examination and duty status.
Okay, that one sounds serious.
It is. It's used during line-of-duty investigations. This form is powerful because it proves you were officially on duty and acting within regulations the exact moment you broke your leg or, tore your rotator cuff.
I see. So if you have those specific documents clearly scanned in your digital vault.
You have established your nexus, you've got the golden ticket.
All right, so you've got your indestructible vault of proof. Now you actually have to march up to the fortress and submit the application.
And this introduces VA Form 21-526EZ. And immediately, the bureaucracy tries to confuse you.
Of course it does.
Box 5 on that form asks for your VA file number. Now, that sounds like a highly classified code you have to request in writing from the Pentagon, right?
Oh, totally. I'd be scrambling looking for some special ID card.
It is literally just your Social Security number.
Are you kidding me? Then why on earth don't they just label it Social Security number?
Because it wouldn't be a bureaucratic gauntlet if it were straightforward.
Fair point.
But the actual challenge when filing this form is choosing your path. You face this critical fork in the road between a fully developed claim, an FTC, and a standard claim.
Yeah, I was looking at this in the source material, and the difference is staggering.
It really is.
Let's use an analogy. Let's say you need to get a specialized license at the DMV.
Okay, everyone's favorite place.
Right. Choosing the fully developed claim is like walking up to the DMV counter with a perfectly tabbed, pre-assembled binder. You have your ID, your utility bills, your birth certificate, all neatly highlighted.
You just slide it across the desk.
Exactly. You hand it over, and the clerk doesn't have to do any detective work. They just review your proof and stamp it approved.
I love that. So in the VA system, filing an FTC means you're submitting all relevant medical records in your possession up front.
Right, including any private civilian doctors you've seen. And you are officially certifying to the government that you have absolutely no further evidence to submit.
You are taking full responsibility for the proof.
Exactly. Meanwhile, choosing the standard claim, well, that's like walking into that same DMV, telling the clerk you want a license, and asking them to please call your high school, the federal government, and your childhood doctor to track down your birth certificate for you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare.
It is the exact mechanism of a standard claim. The VA takes on the legal responsibility of gathering your records from federal agencies, military medical centers, and private facilities.
Which means you are waiting for multiple, massive, notoriously slow bureaucracies to communicate with each other.
Exactly. If you want any chance at speed, you take the fully developed claim path. Every time.
And when you assemble that FDC, precision matters. You can't just write on the form, hey, I went to the base hospital a few times.
Right, you have to be specific.
For Dr. Arnold listed every single facility that ever touched his injuries. From WAC at Fort Bragg to Walter Reed, all the way down to the specific civilian medical centers that the military referred him to.
You have to leave zero gaps for a reviewer to say, well, we don't have the whole picture.
And that level of detail is especially crucial when you're documenting toxic exposures.
Oh, for sure. The application specifically asks about service in Gulf War hazard locations or exposure to herbicides like Agent Orange.
Which introduces this concept of presumptive service connection.
Meaning the VA just presumes the nexus exists.
Yes, exactly. If you served in a specific location during a specific time frame and you develop certain diseases later in life, the VA legally presumes the military environment caused it.
That's actually really helpful. So you don't have to find a piece of paper from 30 years ago proving you inhaled a specific chemical.
Nope. You just have to prove you were physically there.
Okay, so you gather the forms, you choose the FDC, you meticulously detail your exposure, and you hit submit.
And then on.
Now you enter the most psychologically draining phase of the entire gauntlet. The wait.
Oh, the wait. It is brutal.
The wait time for a claim to be processed and assigned to a reviewer can stretch for months, or honestly, even years, in complex cases.
And adding to that frustration is just the sheer inconsistency of the system. The sources highlight these massive discrepancies in decision-making and average disability payments from state to state.
It shouldn't depend on your zip code, but sometimes it feels like it does.
It really does. But let's assume you survive the wait. You open the mail and you see the word approved.
Huge relief.
You think the battle is over, right?
Yeah.
But suddenly you are forced to navigate these incredibly complex financial traps.
Oh, yeah. The money part gets complicated fast.
The biggest one is federal double-dipping laws. Explain to me how this makes any sense. I served 20 years. I earn a retirement pension. But if I get injured during that service, the government reduces my pension to pay for my disability.
I know. It is a harsh reality of federal law. The government generally prohibits receiving two different types of compensation for the exact same period of service.
Okay.
So traditionally, a military retiree cannot receive both their military retired pay and their VA disability compensation at the same time. It is an offset.
That's
Meaning,
right.
if you receive $1,000 in tax-free VA compensation, you have to waive $1,000 of your taxable military retirement pay.
Wait, so your overall income doesn't actually increase? The money just shifts buckets to a tax-free status?
Yep.
That feels incredibly punitive to a career service member.
It does. It really does. However, Congress did recognize this friction, and they created a major exception. It's called Concurrent Retirement and Disability Pay, or CRDP.
CRDP.
Okay. If a veteran secures a service-connected disability rating of 50% or higher, they break through that threshold. Under CRDP, they are allowed to receive their full military retirement pay and their full VA disability compensation concurrently, with zero offset.
So getting to that 50% rating is the magic number.
Yeah. Exactly. It changes everything financially.
Are there any other financial landmines hiding in the approval process?
Separation pay is a big one. If you accepted military separation pay or a disability severance payment when you were discharged, the VA is legally required to recoup that money.
Recoup it, like they take it back.
Yes. They will actually withhold your new disability compensation payments entirely until that original severance amount is paid back to the government.
Wow. That's a rough surprise if you aren't expecting it. Okay, that covers the financial mechanics if you win. But, and we have to talk about this, what happens if you open that envelope after waiting for a year and it's a denial?
The emotional devastation of a denial is profound. I mean, veterans frequently interpret a denial letter as the government calling them a liar.
Or saying their years of sacrifice meant nothing.
Exactly. And that psychological blow causes so many people to just throw the letter in the trash and walk away completely.
Which is the worst thing you can do.
Right. You have to force a complete perspective shift. A denial is not a moral judgment.
It's just a rigid bureaucracy executing a checklist.
Exactly that. It is a procedural request for more data. It almost always just means the reviewer couldn't clearly see the nexus in the specific paperwork you provided.
So it's not a closed door?
No, it is an invitation to enter the appeals process and provide more targeted medical evidence. A denial is just a speed bump, not a dead end.
That is such a vital reframing. Okay, let's look at the ultimate success scenario. You push through the appeals, you win, the gates swing wide open, and you get approved. Perhaps even at 100%.
The golden outcome.
Most people assume the journey ends with a monthly direct deposit. But there is a massive hidden tier of benefits that most veterans never even know exist.
It's true. The monthly check is really just the baseline. For instance, the VA offers special monthly compensation, or SMC.
What does that cover?
This is an additional tax-free benefit paid on top of regular disability compensation for veterans with severe specific needs. We are talking of veterans who require daily aid and attendance.
Meaning they need physical help with eating, bathing, or dressing.
Exactly. It also applies to veterans who are legally housebound or have suffered the loss of use of a limb. You apply for this using VA Form 212680.
And beyond medical care, there are grants to literally rebuild your life, like the HISA grants home improvements and structural alterations.
Those are amazing.
They really are. If you have a service-connected disability, you can access a lifetime benefit of up to $6,800. Imagine a veteran in a wheelchair who realizes they can't physically get through their own bathroom door.
Right. The house isn't built for them anymore.
Exactly. This grant pays to widen that door, or install a roll-in shower, or build a wheelchair ramp.
And that mobility extends to driving, too. The VA offers a one-time automobile allowance of up to $22,355.72, to be exact.
Gotta love the 72 cents.
Okay. But it's to help severely disabled veterans purchase a specially equipped vehicle. On top of that, there are adaptive equipment grants to pay for, modifying a steering column or installing a power wheelchair lift in a van.
Here is what drives me crazy about this, though.
What's that?
Why does a veteran have to play detective to find this out? If the VA already determined you are severely disabled enough to need a wheelchair, why aren't the housing and auto grants automatically triggered?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. Why force them to hunt down Form 212680 just to get help taking a shower?
It is the ultimate symptom of a siloed bureaucracy. The department that processes your basic disability rating is completely separate from the department that audits files for housing grants.
And they don't talk to each other.
The systems do not talk to each other proactively at all. You have to be your own relentless advocate. And that advocacy extends way beyond the federal government because the state level perks are massive.
Oh, the state perks are incredible. If
Mm.
you are a 100% disabled veteran, many states offer full property tax exemptions on your primary residence.
Which is huge.
It's life-changing. When you calculate that over a 20 or 30-year retirement, you were talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars saved. States like California, Florida, Texas, Alabama, they all have variations of this.
And there are incredible lifestyle benefits too. Like in Virginia, a fully disabled veteran gets free lifetime hunting and freshwater fishing licenses.
That's so cool. It really is about getting your life back.
Yeah, and we also have to highlight DIC, which is dependency and indemnity compensation.
This is important.
It really is. This is a crucial protection filed using Form 21P 534EZ. It is a monthly tax-free benefit designed to protect the surviving spouses, children, or parents of service members who died in the line of duty.
Or veterans whose death resulted from a service-connected condition, right?
Exactly. It ensures that a family isn't left financially devastated if the absolute worst happens.
Stepping back and looking at everything we've uncovered today, the VA claims process truly is a staggering gauntlet.
It really is.
It is a fortress designed to test your endurance. But, and this is the main takeaway, it is entirely conquerable.
Absolutely.
By treating your digital records like an indestructible vault, understanding that aggravation of an injury makes you eligible, regardless of combat, and strategically choosing that fully developed claim path, you can force those gates open.
Yeah, and relentlessly hunting down those hidden tier benefits we just talked about. It demands an incredible amount of patience, precision, and persistence from the veteran. But the blueprints do exist, and the system can be navigated.
Which brings me to a final sort of provocative thought for you to chew on. Today, the entire system is paralyzed by lost paper.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Decades of lost paper.
The primary hurdle for a veteran is the struggle to prove a nexus years after an event just because a manila folder went missing in an archive. But look at the military of today and tomorrow.
Where are you going with this?
Well, we have wearable health tech tracking our vitals 24/7 now. We have biometric smartwatches. We have immutable blockchain medical records that literally cannot be altered or lost. Oh, that's fascinating.
Right. How will this completely revolutionize the system for the next generation of soldiers? Will the bureaucratic gauntlet of desperately trying to prove an injury eventually become a total relic of the past, replaced by an instant, undeniable digital footprint?
That would change everything.
It really would. Something to think about.